you know, they found or they seem to have found something near to what they are referring to as God particle. You know this? Called the boson, which has a mass which is of a certain significance. If you try to look at the whole universe, you will not see anything. If you just look at an atom intensely enough, and if the atom yields to you, then you know how the whole universe is made. Now they're no more talking about atoms. They were talking about subatomic particles. Now they're not even talking about that. When two subatomic particles collide, not atoms, when two protons collide, something spills out of that, they want to see that. But when you say, I am on the path of yoga, you're not even interested in the tiny minuscule particle. You want to see the empty space which holds all this in place. That is their desire also, but they kind of given up on it. That's their desire also, that they want to see what is it that's holding all this together. But they don't have… they understand, they're sensible enough to understand, with these two eyes, with these senses, we can't see it. The only way is to go to the nearest point and see it. The nearest point is as far as away as Timbuktu. You understand? Right now, I don't know if you're interested in these things, but you must know these things because it's got a very direct relationship with yogic system. There was a time when scientists believed, they thought, let's say if this is an atom, big enough for you to see? Okay. If this is an atom, proton, neutron, electron are all embedded in it like these dots. They thought it was like that. Then by the time you came to high school, they wrote a different picture. They wrote one central circle which contains proton, neutron, and electrons are going around like planets in different formats. Yes, you've seen those pictures? But now they know it's completely wrong. And we have always known it's completely wrong. That's why textbooks never ever interested me, because when I look at it, it looked dumb. Today, suppose this is the size of the core of the atom. The electrons are, let's say, somewhere approximately a mile away. That's the kind of distance. You understand? Within an atom. An atom is not like this. No human being has ever seen an atom. Do you know this? Forget about a proton, neutron, electron. Nobody has ever witnessed an atom. Even in a super electron microscope, you cannot see it. In that, there is a housing where proton, neutrons are there, and the electrons are about a mile away in comparison, in proportion, I'm saying. So what is the maximum substance in this? Emptiness, isn't it? We always told you, the yogic systems always insisted that the microcosm and the macrocosm are made the same way. If you know this piece of life, you will know everything in the universe, because that's how it is made. When they say, if you know the way these bosons behave and what they are, they're saying we will know the whole universe, the way the universe was made, we will understand. But you don't understand that you are also a bloody boson. In the cosmic space, you're just a boson. So you are as much as a Higgs boson in the universe. If you observe this, If you pay enough attention to this, you would know everything. But if you have not even paid attention to anything around you, paying attention to within you will be out of question. Abhaya Sutra. It is the sutra of transcendence. So, this also leads to a state of nirbhaya or fearlessness. If you are not so physical, there is not much fear in you. But the Devi Sutra is more like a protection. The whole science of yoga itself is extrapolated in the form of sutras, various kinds of sutras. Over 200 sutras makes the whole body, yogic knowledge. So when they say sutra, in that context, they're talking about just the basic. When the Yoga Sutras, when we say Yoga Sutras, when Patanjali kind of assimilated Yoga Sutras, sutra means a thread. He gave only the thread. He left the responsibility, the mastery and the artistry of making the garland to each master. The sutra is same, the thread is same, but what kind of garland you make out of it is different. There can never be a garland without the thread, but nobody ever wears a garland for the sake of the thread. Wear the garland for the flowers that it bears. You can put flowers on it, you can put beads on it, you can put pearls on it, you could put diamonds on it. But without the thread, there is no garland. But you never wear the garland for the sake of the thread. Thread is vital, but that's not it is not a purpose by itself, it's not a goal by itself. So, we found many other ways to use the thread. You have heard of Mangal Sutra. You tied one. It was properly done. The idea was binding two beings as one. That was the idea. Today it's just become a ritual, that's different. But if someone is there who knows how to do this, you mix up the two DNAs in such a way that energy-wise they cannot be separated. Doesn't matter what happens. Many things may happen in the course of life. You may quarrel over big things, you may quarrel over petty things, but you cannot separate because the energies are bound in a certain way. You have to tear yourself apart, that's the only way you can go. It's not like shedding your clothes, it's like peeling your skin off. Abhaya Sutra is not made to bind you. Two kinds of sutras, both are being called Abhaya Sutra. The terminology Abhaya Sutra goes better with the Devi Sutra, which is red in color. When you get the sutra for the Panchabhuta Aradhana, which is connected to the Dhyana Linga, it is more to enhance certain dimensions of who you are, fundamentally to enhance the spiritual dimension. Then why is it being called Abhaya Sutra? You need to understand Bhaya means fear. The basis of fear is your physicality. If you are not physical, would you have fear? Would you? No. It is the limitations of the physical which causes fear. If you are not at all physical, you wouldn't be fearful of anything, isn't it? So in that context, it is Abhaya. But essentially, it is the sutra of transcendence. But we did not want to use too many names. You'll get confused, you know. So, this also leads to a state of nirbhaya or fearlessness. We can call this Nirbhaya Sutra, that is Abhaya Sutra. That is more like a protection. This is to enhance the spiritual dimension of who you are so that you become less physical. If you're not so physical, there's not much fear in you. But the Devi Sutra is more like a protection. There are two ways to be free of thieves. If you're always afraid a burglar may come into your house and steal, one way is to put a guard outside. Another way is not to have anything and nobody will come. Even if you invite him, he won't come, he'll go somewhere else. So this is his way, nothing, so nobody will come, so fearless. There, you want to put a guard, you still have stuff, you want a guard. I see many hands which have both. That's good. So how to dispose it? You can keep it for a minimum of 40 days. If you're not using soap, too much soap, it will last much longer. If you're using a lot of soap, at least for 40 days it will remain vibrant. If you're using only cold water, it will last much longer. If you're having bath with warm water, at least 40 days it will last. It is… if the thread maintains its tenacity, then it will maintain the energy. So somewhere between 40 to 60 days, if it's just become a thread, there's no point wearing thread and walking around. So you can take it off and put it somewhere where it'll disintegrate easily. Usually the tradition is to dig a small hole near a plant and put it because it gets watered and within 3 days it will be gone. It should not get into somebody else's hands, that's important. Something that's been so intimately on your body, a certain marriage has happened between you and Devi and between you and Dhyanalinga, a small-scale marriage. When that has happened, it's best that it should not get into somebody else's hands. If they know how to use it, they can finger you. So you must always bury it. If you don't have a place to bury, you must burn it. You can burn it, take the ash and smear it on your body from your Vishuddhi down. That's a simple way of doing it. Otherwise, you bury it. Our mind is a tremendous gift where it remembers vividly every experience and every information that comes our way. Well, this can be transformed into a phenomenal imagination, but if you lose control over your imagination, if you lose the discrimination as to what is imagination and what is reality, what is future, what is present and what is past, then your mind will become your greatest enemy. Most human beings are not suffering life, they're just suffering their memory and their imagination. What happened 10 years ago, they still suffer. What may happen day after tomorrow, they already suffer. This is not about life. This is about lack of control over two most fantastic faculties that human beings have, a vivid sense of memory and a fantastic sense of imagination. Do not worry about your future. If you do your present well, future will naturally blossom. We can only work with what's on our hands right now. You cannot work with what's on your mind. You can plan for what's on your mind, but you cannot do anything about it. You can only act in the present moment. You can only handle what is there right now. Those of you who too engrossed in your own thoughts and emotions, constantly being maybe on social media or something, I think you must get rid of your phone and take a walk in the forest. If it's not possible every day, at least 1 or 2 days in a month, you might get lost somewhere, just be in nature, all by yourself, walk, sit, observe. If you pay enough attention, you will see, you will be so enchantingly enamored by every little thing in the existence, because the way a single ant is made is too much for you and your intelligence to grasp exactly how this is made. Those who have not peeled their eyes to the creation get too enamored with their own mental creations, which is their thought, the juicy part being emotion. When your thought and your emotion becomes more important than the Creator's creation, that means you have become a perceptual tragedy. You have not realized the nature of life at all. We know many things, we can do many things, but we do not know anything in its entirety. So this is the nature of the existence. If you pay attention to it, naturally your own thought and emotion will sink to the background. You can still enjoy them, but you know how insignificant it is. So it's very important that if you want to experience the multifarious dimensions of life, you have to be non-serious. You become serious only because you have taken your own existence too seriously, though we exist here for a minuscule amount of time in this cosmos. This is a vast cosmos. The very planetary system, the solar system in which we exist is a speck. In that, planet Earth is a micro speck. In that micro speck, the place you live or the city you live is a super micro speck. In that, you have become a big man or woman, and that's the reason why you're so serious about life. It's a brief amount of time that you have as life. In this, if you take yourself too seriously, you are one big joke. The secret of life is to see everything with a non-serious eye, but to be absolutely involved like a sport. To be a sport for life. If you want to be a sport for life, you have to be able to see that your existence is of consequence for the times in which we live, but not of eternal consequence unless you touch the eternal dimension of who you really are. It's such a brief life, only in doing what you truly care for will your life become worthwhile. If genuine involvement has to come in your life, for you to give yourself absolutely, you must be doing something that truly matters. It's important that you find that. When I say it's important to find that, you don't have to spend half your life looking for what is my passion. No, you just have to dig into this ability of you making everything yours. When everything is yours,
This whole world is yours, this cosmos is yours. So when it is a part of you, if you involve yourself absolutely and constantly strive to create what matters to you, what you really care for, then your existence itself will be worthwhile, not necessarily your actions, not necessarily what you achieve and may not achieve, but your very existence will be truly worthwhile, because just to breathe and be is a phenomenon. There is no greater phenomenon than life. If this is not worthwhile, what is?
We fear technology because of the kind of people who will handle it. That's a problem. Technology is a fantastic facilitator. Technology is a big relief from a huge burden we've been carrying on our heads, but we fear this well-being because we have not taken care of what kind of human beings we create on this planet. We have not focused on that. We have not focused, our education systems have not focused on what sort of human beings we produce in this world. We're trying to fix it with 5 ethics or morals or don't do this, do this. This is not going to work. Forever they have taught and these things have not worked because you cannot restrain a human being by telling him, do this, don't do this. If there was a sense of inclusiveness, as we went through this earlier, if you sat here and experienced all of them as part of yourself, you will not need any kind of guideline from anybody. You will not do anything unnecessary for somebody else, isn't it? This is yoga. Yoga means there is a union with everything around you. Right now, we are valuing only people's memory. Well, we will produce machines which will have 1,000,000 GB, all right? So your brains cannot contain that much. So now it becomes significant. We are coming to a time where human consciousness will become the most important thing. One thing the machine cannot do is to be conscious. So, what kind of a human being you are will become more important than what nonsense you carry in your head. Isn't it great time? Hello? Great times are coming. So we should not fear technology. Well, as you said, laws to regulate this, that you can do, but within no time, there'll be technologies to circumvent those laws, as you're seeing always. Well, all these years, if you make a law, it takes 15, 20 years to circumvent it. The time is coming, if you make a law, within 3 days, they'll circumvent it. Yes, because the capability is such. So these are great times that none of your laws will work. The only thing that'll work is, what sort of human being are you? Then human energy, human education, everything needs to focus on what sort of human beings do we produce. This should become the prime interest of humanity, that what kind of a human being am I? Am I inclusive or exclusive? This is a basic question.
Yes, you're absolutely right, because right from the first invention of man, which is fire, it can be used for good and for bad purposes. So I think every invention of man has a dual use. You can use it for good, you can also use it for harm. And I think, as you rightly pointed out, it is only your inner ethical and moral compass that guides, what use you put to that technology. But I think we have to be very watchful to see that the benefits outweigh, some of the potential harms, and unless we are proactively thinking about it, it may just come upon us and it may be too late.
Can I say something which is a little little ahead of time, but it's time to look at it because times will roll faster in the coming years. See, please look back and see. In this world, people who thought they're really good people, they have created more harm in this world, or so-called bad people
have caused more harm in this world? Please tell. Hello? Good people cause more harm, unfortunately, because it's a good Indian fighting a good Pakistani. It is a good Muslim fighting a good somebody else. It is a good American fighting just about anybody. Because the more good you think you are, you have more reason to fight, unfortunately. Bad, so-called bad people, criminals, they kill one or two. The real raising of civilizations happen by people who believe they are doing a great thing, isn't it? They're very proud, they are fulfilling their moral compass, they are fulfilling their ideologies, their philosophies. They really believe they're doing a great thing. Especially the moment you think you're not just doing good, you're doing God's own work, you will do the maximum damage. Because the nature of human action is such, our actions are never perfect, never, ever. One who thinks they are doing perfect action is a fool. Our actions are never perfect. When our actions are not perfect, there must be little hesitation in everything that we do. But the moment you believe you are the best or the greatest or the best possible creature on this planet, then you can do horrible things with absolute confidence. Yes, if you have little doubt, you will hesitate. So this is very important. We have tried to manage humanity by the fear of God. It's not worked. We have tried to manage humanity with goodness and karma, you do this, you will be punished somewhere else. It has not worked. We have tried to manage human beings by teaching them ethics, morals, everything, but you know in how many different ways they circumvent that when it's to their advantage. But what you know as myself, what you know as a part of yourself, with that you don't need any of these things, isn't it? If I see you as a part of myself, I don't need the fear of God not to harm you, I don't need morals not to harm you, I don't need ethics to keep myself away from harming you, I just won't do it, because such a thing never arises within me.
I think you brought us back to the…
I'm sorry if I'm very abrasive.
No. You brought us back to the theme of inclusiveness.
Inclusiveness.
Yes. I want to ask you next about primary health care and preventive health, because after all I come from WHO and we have to remember that we have only about 10 years left for the Sustainable Development Goals to achieve health for all, that is the SDG 3. Now, health was enshrined in the very constitution of the World Health Organization, and health was defined even at that time, not just as a physical health, but also mental, spiritual and social health, and not just the absence of disease, but of well-being. It was also stated that it's a fundamental right of every human being to attain the highest attainable standards of health, that governments have a responsibility of providing basic health care services to their population, but also that individuals and communities need to take active responsibility and cooperate in order to improve the health of the people. So we see now more and more countries, the heads of states are actually committing to universal health coverage. In India, we have the Prime Minister launched the Ayushman Bharat program last year, which aims to cover 500 million people with not only with health insurance, but also with primary health care services. But again, primary health care, many people think it's been interpreted in different ways. People think about it as an essential package of health services. People have interpreted it as just a selective package of health services which you provide only to the poor. And others have interpreted it from social and political and economic aspects. But the way WHO defines primary health care is, of course, to deliver the basic health services across the life course to address, again, not only treatment and diagnosis, but preventive services, rehabilitation, palliative care, long-term care throughout the life course, from the newborn to the elderly. And we have to appreciate now that the proportion of elderly is growing worldwide, and we will have by 2030 about 500 million people globally over the age of 80 years. And the most rapid increases are going to happen in Asia, Latin America, and Africa of elderly. How do you integrate them? How do you make sure they live good quality of life till the very end? But primary health care is also about making the right policies, public policies, like banning tobacco and smoking in public places, by making sure that there are water and sanitation services.
We're banning tobacco and make marijuana legal.
That's another debate, yes. And also the third element of primary health care is to empower individuals and communities, actually, to take action at the local level so that they can optimize their own health. They can advocate for policies. We see young people now, Greta Thunberg, the 16-year-old who has been advocating for climate change and who's actually managed to get heads of state to stand up and take notice of what she's saying. So I think a lot of hope now in young people. But people need to be co-developers of health and social services, but also they are self-carers and caregivers to others within their own families and communities. How can we integrate the practice of yoga and traditional medicine into our primary healthcare services so that they keep people healthy? It's not a question of treating illness once they're already ill. It's a bit late. Of course, there are medicines and things which you can use, but the aim should be to keep people healthy as long as possible. How do we integrate this? And have you had personal experience in India of being able to scale that up?
Well, the last part of your question is easy for me to answer. How to integrate yoga, how to make it available, large scale, various things are being done. But the larger part of your question, you will not settle with a simple answer from me, because better than anyone, you know the complexities involved in that. And as you come up with more solutions, people will come up with more issues. Let's say now you spoke about India, Ayushman Bharat. The wonderful thing is Prime Minister is taking two parallel ways. One is he's pushing yoga on one side and talking about insurance when you fall sick. Falling sick is not your privilege. Every human being needs to understand this, that it's not a privilege or your right to fall sick. You have no business to fall sick. But if it happens, it is only an emergency. But in advanced countries, in Western countries, particularly I'm watching in United States, people think insurance is their privilege and they must exercise it. A nation with see, an individual person or a society or a nation seeks affluence. In the initial stages, because affluence promises choice of nourishment. In later stages, affluence brings choice of lifestyle. This is all human beings are seeking through affluence. So the most affluent country on the planet, which has a wide choice of nourishment and lifestyle, 70% of them are on prescription medication, spends over $3 trillion as healthcare bill. A country which has so many choices of nourishment and lifestyle should not have a healthcare bill like that, isn't it? Hello? But 70% are on prescription medication, the remaining 30% of course buying it off the back street. Every nation is heading in this way as if this is the example to follow. Every nation is moving in that direction, that people are beginning to think, my health is my government's responsibility, or maybe it's the WHO's responsibility. No, every individual needs to understand my health is my business. If it goes wrong, somebody will support you, that's a different matter. But staying healthy is my business as an individual person. This is what yoga inculcates, that your health is 100% your business. You should not misunderstand the insurance net and government healthcare systems as a place that you need to go every day because it's there. It's your privilege to go there and exercise your right as a citizen. You have no business to go there as a life. As a life, you have no business to go to your hospital. You must live well and go straight to the undertaker. Yes. You're going to the hospital because not enough attention has been paid as to how this mechanism works. The most complex, the most sophisticated machine on the planet is human mechanism. Do you agree with me? No, I'm not saying how complicated you are, I'm talking about the human mechanism. But the problem is most human beings are trying to live here without even reading the user's manual. So the initial aspect of yoga means, first thing is you read the user's manual. How does this work? What does what in this one? I was just talking to a group of American people. They said, Sadhguru, why there is so much ill health in America? I said, see, there are many aspects. Let me not go into a big talk about what are all the things you need to fix. I said, if you just allow me to redesign your furniture in America, you will see your healthcare bill as a person will come down minimum 30 to 40%. Just your furniture, the way you sit. Most furniture is made in such a way, if I go sit like this, this is the only way you can sit. You cannot sit like this. If you sit like this, you're inviting illnesses because… Just to tell you a little bit, all of you know this, many of you are medical doctors. In this… here is all the vital organs. None of them are fixed with nuts and bolts, it's all hanging in nets. Hello? Only if you sit like this, they all function to their best. If you sit like this, they'll all pile on each other and they will not function well. It's as simple as that. Especially with a full stomach, after lunch if you sit like this, it definitely you're asking for trouble. Now, like this, there are many things we can go on with. I'm saying small things, if we just understand how this works. Simple forms of yoga is just that. You just understand how your breath works, how your heart beats, how things are functioning, how you should sit, stand and breathe. If this much you understand, most probably you will never go to your doctor. But there are other influences, you're breathing chemicals, you're eating chemicals, drinking chemicals, exposed to so many things, there are infections, and above all, there is a population where hardly you find a space where there are no people. People are infection, you know. Hello? Once there are a group of people, there are chimneys of infections going on. Our bodies have to battle to somehow manage this stuff. If only there's enough space, if there was enough space on the planet, I think they're transporting all the men to the Mars, then I think the ladies can live well here. If there was enough space on this planet, that is, if the populations were little less than what it is, a whole lot of this healthcare wouldn't be necessary simply because there's simply little more distance between human beings. Well, we have not addressed that at all. United Nations made a prediction by 2050 we'll be 9.7 billion people. Well, they're going by the predictions, by looking at the rate of growth and the extension of human life, which is a wonderful thing. But why don't we plan by 2050 or 75 we'll be 3.5 billion people? We need a plan, isn't it? We are so smart. If we think there are too many elephants in Africa, we cull them. All right? Hello? We are that smart. How come we don't understand? If we extend or postpone our death, we also need to postpone our birth. How come we don't understand simple arithmetic? We got too much going in our head, too full of ourselves. We don't see that one of me is bad enough, I don't have to leave 10 behind. I'm not saying children are wonderful, all right? But we produce children, we must also leave a wonderful world for them to live, isn't it? If you create a nasty and harsh world, if you create a very harsh world and go, these wonderful children that you bear will become ugly animals, believe me. It's very important that we leave a pleasant and wonderful world so that they can fulfill their lives as wonderful human beings. Is this not important? So if we want to address healthcare without addressing population issues, I think we are not serious about what we're talking. We cannot talk about human health without addressing the population issue in a big way. Most nations have just given it up because it's religiously sensitive or whatever. Even in India, there was a family planning ministry. Now that has been transformed into family welfare. I appreciate the intention, but we must be able to gauge the realities of our existence, not ideologies of what we think, isn't it? In the beginning of 20th century, we were only 1.6 billion people. Today we are 7.6 billion people in 1 century. This is not just because of reproduction, this is because human life, people are living more full. For example, in 1947, when India got its independence, the average life expectancy of an Indian was 28 years. Today it is 71, fantastic. We want it to become 91 if it's possible. Average life expectancy should be 85, 90, it should get there. But when we postpone death, we must also postpone birth. It is not compulsory that everybody must reproduce. This is coming because of a tribal mindset, what will I leave behind? It is because of this people want to accumulate things that they don't need. They want to grab everything, half the world they want to conquer because they got 10 children. This needs to go. A time has come where human consciousness should become more important than human biology. If you're identified with your biology, you're still having an evolutionary issue, isn't it? Hello? If your biology is the most dominant force in you, you're still having an evolutionary issue. It is time we think beyond our biology. Many of you who are here with your spouses or your partners, you didn't deliver your spouse, isn't it? But you're doing quite fine with them. I'm saying you can do quite fine with people that you don't deliver.
So maybe just the last question for this session could be, I think what you said made me think about a couple of things. Immunization, vaccines have been one of the greatest public health discoveries. In fact, one of the reasons why the lifespan increased so much…
Yes, definitely.
…is because of the availability of vaccines. We used to lose, half the number of children who were born used to die of pneumonia, diarrhea and other infections. Today, that mortality has been brought down significantly thanks to vaccines, but also to antibiotics. But now suddenly we are seeing a different trend. If you look at the news, every day you hear about measles outbreaks, not in some remote corner of Africa, but in France, in Germany, in Ukraine, in the United States. In fact, the President of the United States and most of the mayors and governors have been speaking up about the importance of immunization. Because if you take a disease like measles, it's not enough for me to vaccinate my child and hope that it will be protected. You need what is called herd immunity. And to get herd immunity, you need about 90–95% of the children in that community to be vaccinated. So an individual action, a parent decides my child does not need a vaccine because of whatever belief. It's sometimes religious, but very often it's not religious. And a recent survey just came out a few days ago showed that people believed in the safety of vaccines 95% and above in Asia and Africa, but only 70% in Western Europe and even less in Eastern Europe. Only 50% of people, adults, believe that vaccines are safe. So there's This is beyond logic, it's beyond science, it's beyond any factual information that we give to people, doesn't seem to be working. And yet, it impacts many others. You don't vaccinate your child, but the child who gets measles and dies may be somebody else's child. And so, I think it comes back to what you were saying about it's not just yourself. You need to think about the humanity, community, society, and most importantly, the planet where we live, and how we can modulate those actions.
This is a phenomena that we must observe historically or within families or individuals. Human beings get tired of well-being. They want some trouble. They like trouble, you know. They like it really. See, America spent billions and billions of dollars to build highways, but now everybody buys off-road vehicles because people like some trouble. Too much order creates a certain level of irritation in the human being. He wants a little chaos. They must visit India. So, this campaign is gaining momentum particularly in California, big time. A whole lot of parents coming to me and asking this, I'm telling them, don't be a fool, because when you find your child is either crippled with polio or something else… I remember this very well, when I was in school, there were 4 children in my school. I never stayed in one school for too long. So I was there maximum 2 years, 3 years in any given school, 3 was the maximum. So in that high school where I was in one school for 3 years, in high school there were 4 polio-affected boys, 3 of them boys, 1 girl, who came to school in in a wheelchair, but many places the wheelchair wouldn't go in those days, so they would drag themselves and go. It was so terrible to see them. But today, even if you go to the remotest village in India, even if you go to the government schools where we work, there's not a single polio-affected child. It's fantastic to see that. So, we don't know the value of these things. Unfortunately, we get tired of well-being. We want to invite some trouble. But having said that, I was talking to some of the parents in California, they were saying they're being put through some 40 or 42 different types of vaccines. They're saying it is causing learning disability, this, that, for all kinds of things. Maybe in United States, and I don't know what's the situation in Europe, maybe they're overdoing it a little bit. Apart from treating the basic things which were affecting children, which would cause death or cripple, it would cripple a child, I think they're attending to trying to give vaccine for just about everything. This may be affecting. I'm not some kind of a medical expert or something to make a commentary on this, but from listening to the parents, this is what I gathered. I don't remember all the things that they said they're giving vaccines for. I thought some of them were just absurd. Some of those illnesses a child can go through, it's okay, he catches a flu, something happens. It's all right to go through those things when you're growing up, but they're giving vaccines for a whole lot of things which may not be necessary, which today parents are apprehensive, maybe causing learning disability or some other problem. It may not be connected, I don't know, but this is the fear that is being spread. But the power and the well-being that vaccines have brought to our lives, most of us are sitting here because we were vaccinated. Hello? Yes? Otherwise we wouldn't be here. Definitely we wouldn't be here, many of us. So, we should not… see, the problem is just this, especially now because social media and things, we either go this extreme or that extreme. I feel being the World Health Organization, please look into this, I'm not an expert, but what kind of vaccines they're giving in… the spectrum of vaccines they're giving in United States, for example. If it is too much, I think WHO should tell them this much is not needed, this is compulsory, rest is by choice. If it's made like that, I think there'll be a more healthy proportion. Otherwise, some parents are just not vaccinating their children. I said, you must be crazy, you'll lose your child. Anytime it can happen, the child goes to school and that may be the end of it. But out of their, their fear that vaccine is going to damage their brains or something, they are going for this kind of decision-making. I think a clear statement from an organization like WHO would help parents to make a better choice.
Thank you, Sadhguru. And I just wanted to clarify that vaccines cause adults, that's what you said. None of us would be sitting here if it were not for vaccination. So let's think of vaccines as causing adults. And I don't think there's anything as too much of a good thing. So the problem has been the anti-vax campaign, skeptics who have spread many… There are side effects of everything. Everything has a side effect, but 1 in a million, maybe 1 in 2 million, but they have been blown out of proportion. And this gets circulated through social media. So social media can have both very good benefits, but also can propagate falsehoods very rapidly. And I think one needs to be always a little skeptical of things that we see on social media and check for ourselves the veracity. As far as WHO is concerned, we have absolutely very clear-cut guidelines on vaccination. And there is, as I said, very clear guidance both for the public and for practitioners on which vaccines are absolutely essential for all children.
But I think it needs to be more published.
Perhaps it has to be
or
more…
if you give such knowledge to us, we will
That will be wonderful.
publish. Because when I spoke to the parents, their concerns were genuine. They're not those flaky, new agey types. They're genuinely concerned that this may affect their children.
You're right. I think the messaging probably needs to be done through people whom they believe. And some people believe the doctors, but maybe they also like to hear it from others. So
if there's credible scientific information…
yes.
And also clearly what is a must and what is choice.
What is optional.
If that is created, I think it'll be good.
Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you very much.
Namaskar.
Thank you, Dr. Swaminathan, for the truly insightful and absorbing conversation. The next segment of the program is a question and answer session. It's my pleasure to invite on stage Mr. Francis Gurry to moderate this session.
Thank you so much.
She was a doctor, it's okay. You're a lawyer, don't ask difficult questions.
Sadhguru, it's really a privilege to have this opportunity to interact with you, and please allow me to thank Ambassador Rajiv Chanda for giving me this opportunity. I think actually it's a sign of the greatest inclusiveness that India should invite an Australian on International Yoga Day during the middle of the World Cricket Cup.
So this doesn't mean we are going to be kind to you on the cricket field.
I've noticed. So now I have many questions from many people in the audience who would like to ask for your wisdom, but may I start by asking you one myself? Please. So, the power of inclusiveness. Now, if we go back in the world, say 30 years, we
He said, stop this nonsense, ask some question. Today's the last day. The master is alive constantly, is de-entangling you. Afterwards, just sadhana. He's lived well. When death comes, he will die well.
Namaskaram, Sadhguru. Why are we so afraid of death?
See, right now, why there is so much fear is the substance of your life is only in your clothes, your jewels, your education, a few people that you gathered around you. That's all the substance of your life is. All these things can be taken away from you any moment, isn't it? This is the only thing which is giving you solidity. Yes? That little bit of education, your clothes, your jewels, your bank balance, a few people around you, this is all that is giving you some sense of solidity of being a being. This is not a being, this is a patch-up job. So, with such petty blocks, when you build a building, naturally you should be very worried when it'll collapse. Now, instead of using a stone block for this column, if I use the twig, definitely I'll be always worried when it'll collapse on my head, isn't it? Isn't it? That's your worry, that's your fear, because you're trying to build your life with twigs, not with solid material, not with reality, with illusory things. Always you will live in fear, there is no other way to live. There is simply… if you're living in a house which is supported by twigs, being afraid that it'll collapse on your head is very natural, isn't it? That's all that's happened. It's time you bring something more substantial into your life. If you bring something more substantial, then suddenly you find, if you sit here, everything is fine. Life or death, still it is fine. That's how it'll be. It's a very beautiful story. Buddha, on the last day of his life, he always had a breakfast of rice gruel in the morning. And after this breakfast was over, he always met the monks who were around him, and every day he said, if you have a question, you ask. This went on for 40 years. 40 years of his enlightened life. Every day after breakfast, he spoke. Whoever was there, 10 people, 10,000 people, whatever number, after breakfast he always sat down and spoke. So on the last day of his life, he knows this is the last day. He had his rice gruel and he sat down and he said, today is the last day. If you have anything to ask, ask. So many of the monks started crying. I said, what are you crying? At least some other day if you were crying, it's okay. Today is the last day, don't waste the time because it's ticking away. Some other day you could cry and roll and you had time for all those things. Today, if you want to ask something, you ask. He was surprised that people are crying. But Master, we have been with you for so long, you're leaving today and they're crying, nobody asking any questions. He said, stop this nonsense, ask some question. Today's the last day, any doubt? Let's clear it. After that there is only teaching, nobody to clear this and that, See, with every teaching you can get into a mess. When the Master is alive, constantly is de-entangling you. Afterwards, no de-entangling, just sadhana is all that is there. So today is the last day, if you want to ask any questions, please ask. It's just matter of fact about it. He's lived well. When death comes, he will die well. He's so certain that he'll die well. So, it's just another day. One day you took on the body, another day you walked about with the body, another day you leave the body. You make a big issue out of it, simply because you have a keyhole vision of life.
As Kala Bhairava, he is the destroyer of time. What you call as life or the approaching death is only because of time. Shukracharya just revives them with the Sanjivani mantra. Then Shiva said, there is no need to kill him, I will contain him.
Whatever I try to do, I become that. If I dispense death, I become death. One who constantly feels death within himself, his life will reverberate across the existence. For most people, who I am is not apparent in the way I live. Probably you will know who I am just by seeing the way I die.
If you made it this far, it's because something spoke to you on some level. Let us know where you're watching from, subscribe to the channel, check out the links in the description for more reflections. Because honestly, very few people make it to the end. Thanks, big hug, and see you in the next video.